This is the EGC 20K Age of Empires 4 tournament. The semi-finals are on, only 4 generals still standing. The real wars begin! Hello and welcome to a new battle. Ooh, it's always exciting starting a new series. Let's get stuck in. In the blue, preparing their lemmings for active duty, they are Mongols, they are Vortex. The town center moved closer to the wood and next to stone. That's location, location, location. My favorite holiday TV show. And where shall we go on our Mongolian holidays? Somewhere hot and in the red? The domestic duties are underway. Inside the town center, shouting commands for the Abyssid dynasty, it's the Mister! We are on the map Lipany, the first area in this best of 5. Up ahead is Boulder Bay, and it's likely we'll see France pulled out then. On Lipany, though, it's Mongols versus Abyssid dynasty, and I'm expecting a brutal, absolutely brutal feudal age. Both the Mongols and Abyssid dynasty tend to want to deliver a platoon load of attack upon aging up. Also, our 2 contenders have been pretty aggressive from memory. If you have not checked out their previous matches here on Ironcast, then there are some fantastic games in those archives. Very quickly, whilst our commanders build up, if you are unbeknownst to the EGC, the Elite Gaming Channel, they are the hosts of the tournament. They have big plans for Age of Empires 4, and if you are interested in getting involved or just looking for more pro games, take a look at their Discord. The information will be in the video description. We are just Ironcast. Well, not just Ironcast. We've got some community-orientated goals of our own, and if you like the idea of big team games or world campaigns, for example, 2v2s China versus Mongols, or 4v4 English versus France, or a Total War style war with persistent general deaths, find the Ironcast Discord and let's make it happen. Phew, feels good to get those mandatory shoutouts out of the way. Now we can enjoy some gathering of gold in peace, and if you want a piece of gold, then prepare for war so that we may purchase peace. Savisa Pachim Auri Parabellum? Yeah, I think it's something like that. That's what Grandma used to say. Never did truly understand her. If only she spoke more English more often, she'd probably say, "This is why I love Lipany. This is where a tower belongs." Belongs here. I think of the vision it would provide. The Lord of the Deers would live here. Now, in the feudal age, the only reliable way that you're taking out that tower is with a battering ram. Sure, spearmen and cavalry can throw torches, but that will take a long time to get around there. And that's too much of a time investment that any of these commanders will want to spend time on. But also, I doubt we'll see any fun outposts. Everyone wants to ruin my fun. There will be plenty of fun to have here, though. Let's talk a bit about the matchup, what we might see. The Mongols sometimes rush in the Dark Age, but we passed that timer a long time ago, and we haven't seen that in the EGC. I've only seen that outside. We'd have seen stables around the Uvu by now, if that was the case. What we do see quite frequently, though, with Mongols is rather archer-orientated army compositions. We've not seen the special Mangudai horse archer much during the Mongol participation of this tournament. You'd think it'd perform exceptionally well at kiting, but people instead are just opting to go with a lot of archers. The Abyssid dynasty, on the other hand, are typically seen on more defensive maps. We've seen them quite a bit on Hill and Dale. They're decent there because they're just able to sit on their hill, snort as many berries as they like, and then in the feudal age, launch an attack with a free battering ram technology, kind of like an early strike bonus. Similarly, we've not seen too many of their special unit, the camels. One doesn't need a lot of camels, though. A single camel can provide that armor or a bonus. So I think it's interesting the Mister has chosen Abyssid dynasty on a map like Lipany, but by no means do I believe that they are weak or just weak on this map at all. Vortex go in the Mongols, not uncommon. We saw the Deer Stones were in the works. Will we see archers? Yes. Will we see spears? I don't think the Mister will be going cavalry. We don't see too much cavalry out unless it's Franz or Roos who have those early heavy knights. The regular horsemen that everyone else gets access to in the feudal age, the light cavalry, are susceptible to archers, even though they supposedly hard counter them. The difficulty is getting enough cavalry to defeat the archers without the enemy going, oh, I guess I'll just buy some spearmen. Because once they get spearmen, your cavalry is limited, expensive, somewhat redundant. Double archery rangers, as I suspected. I can see something that might actually occur. The difference between the Mongol archer and the Abbasid archer? Nothing. They're the same. However, at the Khan, yes, the Mongol Khan, Vortex's glorious leader, they can provide a ranged attack speed bonus for their archers. That barrage of arrows will pick off a few extra foes, most likely trying to flee after seeing the signal flare. And that buff is exponentially better with the more archers there are under the Khan's command, which, with double production from the Mongol stone perk, they can easily outnumber the Mister's archer brigade. Vortex's Khan gathering some useful intel, checking back in on their settlement and archery range, just one, and a blacksmith next to the Uvu. They've got a few useful late-game unique research options, but we'll come to that if we get there. For now, though, it's possible later on for infantry to build spring elves and mangonels on the field with that research in the feudal age. More importantly, is just getting some ranged upgrades and ranged protection, considering the way things are going right now. The Mongols can also get some better gathering upgrades. Of course, though, we don't talk enough about the gathering upgrades, and there is a reason for that. You are probably looking at getting these kinds of upgrades after 20 villagers are harvesting a certain resource. This was based on science done at the University of London. Great people there. They don't want to be there. London is an awful place to be, but they are trapped there, and they are making the best of the situation by finding out interesting things about Age of Empires 4. God bless their souls. Already archers coming out for the Mister. So, basically the cost and time involved in researching these gathering technologies, like better axes and picks, not the wheelbarrow upgrade, it takes about 5 minutes, give or take, until you're break even. Now, if a lot of these games are ending at the 20-minute mark, you probably won't have met the conditions for 20 villagers plus those 5 minutes for it to be of use. So essentially, these upgrades for faster gold, wood, and food probably need a buff. The Khan getting chased away, lots of archers out, not just for the Mister, but Vortex too. So a ranged battle will ensue. That stone funneled into double archer production is some seriously powerful stuff. And there's a lot of edge on Vortex's blade here. And they are so far wielding it finely. If you catch my drift, we'll have to see how the Mister intends to parry. The Mister does have more archers, but their second division is inside their settlement on guard duty now. It's not ideal as the blue archers approach. The signal flare, absolutely bonkers. Everyone has to just focus on running whilst taking arrows to the back. There's that second division. But even if the Mister had that second group of archers merged together, the Khan's ranged attack buff granted to the archers, I think, would have still been a cause to retreat from. Now, somehow the Mister needs to have a greater number of archers or find some other advantage. Fighting close to home will help, longer reinforcement times for Vortex. The outpost, also nice for defending those villagers out there, gathering on the outskirts of the Mister's settlement. The Khan Still just checking things out. Ooh, leaves a falcon behind. It is a falcon, I think. I called it an eagle before, but anyway, good use of the falcon. I've seen commanders use it just in battle. The falcon has the same vision range as the Khan, so it's best to think of it as like a ward, you know, like those bloody MOBA games that once killed RTS, but we're revived now. RTS is back. Vortex constructed a second town center. Cozying between the berries and the forest. It's all about the food and the wood. This is where the wheelbarrow upgrade is quite nice because it increases the gather rate of all of your villagers. Ooh, pause that thought. Another outpost, this time on the west side of the Mister's settlement. Looking at these trees here, feels like a tight spot for a wall. Now, I doubt Vortex would want to move their whole army along the west, but it's just about controlling movement and taking movement away from your opponent. This is such a strange Lipany generation, it's fantastic, but look how far you would have to go just to get to the west side of the Mister's capital. Now, eventually, that forest will be cut down, which brings us back to the wheelbarrow upgrade. Let's try and finish up that line of thought. I was saying the upgrade doesn't affect everyone equally. Villagers cutting wood and gathering berries, I believe, benefit from this upgrade the most because of the increased walking distance. So for an archer-focused military composition, load up that wheelbarrow. Good Lord of mercy, there's no direct route between the Mister and Vortex, but if you look here, this isn't too far from overlooking Vortex's whole base of operations. And one of the reasons why I like Delhi Sultanate, by the way, is that they get an outpost upgrade which increases vision by 50%, which is total nuts on a Barbie. It's massive. Hello, random archer. But here is where I get real. A lot of people say vision wins games. It simply isn't true, sadly. If we go back to the start of this match during the analysis, with so little map knowledge and information as to what the players were doing, a lot was already revealed. We kind of knew this was going to be a big archer battle. It doesn't necessarily change much to know if a giant army is coming and where it's coming from if you don't have the capacity to defend against it in the first place. And so far, Vortex has utilized that double production. They've got the Khan for the ranged attack speed. They have a battering ram now as well. That is quite something to overcome for the Mister with the military power currently available to them. Can they perhaps extend their economic power? Vortex seemingly has seized that advantage too with the second town center, the Kurultai landmark. This is new and different. We'll come to explain that once it arrives on the field. Again, excellent use of that Falcon. Just moving a little bit ahead, dropping the Falcon down. You've got yourself a temporary little tower. The Mister just got the Castle Age with the Culture Wing, and they can build mangonels out on the field now. And here's where they can start to inject themselves into these competitive dialogues. So far, Vortex has done all of the yapping. A good mangonel shot would be a devastating surprise. But you know what? It's kind of hard to get a good shot off. I feel the mangonel serves better as a weapon of fear. Vortex will have to make considerations, extra micro care. Even if the mangonel doesn't do much damage, it's a pain to have to think about. Something that would be good is trying to get some men-at-arms in the mix. If we quickly look at the income per minute, we can see there's more gold kicking around in the bucket. I wonder if that is the goal, or maybe knights. Just something with some heavy armor against these archers on either side. Quickly touching upon the Kurultai, the Mongol landmark. It might serve well in a defensive scenario. It grants 25% damage increase to all nearby units so long as the Khan is near the Kurultai. It also heals, but I don't know by how much. I'm going to assume it's something around 2 health per second. In that ballpark, like the Abbey of Kings. The town center exposed. The woodcutters flee. And the Mister went and got a Springeld ahead of the game. That will help against the Mongol Lancers. But what is protecting the Spring Elves from the Lancers? It's just archers. And whilst knights soak up arrows from the Mister's Archer Brigade, Vortex can hail arrows upon them. The Khan lives. The Camel Archer leading from the front perishes. The support units have got to be in the rear guard. The Khan still managing to stay alive, even though they were very far forward there. And the Mister writes victory in their history books. Now is the time for Vortex to recuperate. The Kurultai, get those units close. You see, there should be a few wounded here. The problem is, we're 3 weeks into the game's release, and we don't fully understand how this Kurultai works. Get those units in there. We know it heals. Well, that's the most important thing we need to know right now. But how long does the damage buff last for? We don't quite know. Now, there has been a lot of testing. I was actually watching, I think it was Marine Lord, Hera, and Viper doing tests to find out all kind of little bits of information, whilst our town centre may crumple under the battering ram. Oh, we're going to get another engagement with more cavalry this time to try and focus on those Spring Elves first. A right flank of villagers. Vortex does have spare villagers because of that second town center advantage. They are serving their civilization very well. An absolute carnivorous civilization of uncivilized people prepared for war. Vortex will persevere and advance. The Khan may fall, but their spirit lives on. There's a mangonel in the woods. It isn't going to complete in time. This would have been amazing. Unfortunately, though, the Mister is going to die on the hill they stand on. The Spring Elves may have been an over-investment. Yes, they are okay against heavy cavalry. Maybe the Mister was expecting more siege machines from Vortex. But there are cheaper cavalry counters. Also, those Spring Elves were exposed and in need of protection during those battles. I feel that there was an overconfidence in the capabilities of the Spring Elves. Also, is carnivorous a word? Carnivorous, like to describe something with the property of carnage, a way of dealing as much damage as possible. We're just gonna let that battering ram do its thing. It's no big deal. I have another town center. The Deerstones have mobilized, looking to locate next to the mill. There's just so many Spring Elves. The flag, the white one, it has been raised. The Abyssid dynasty has been defeated. Vortex is victorious. This is their first win in this best of 5. Join us for the next one, and don't forget to come over to the Ironcast Discord if you want to get involved in some community events, like a class-based 4v4. Oh yeah, it's gonna be exciting, but we need you. For now though, my name's Anuki, and I'll see you soon.